Very good afternoon to all of you. Today we are here at Chandigarh University to discuss about Union Budget 2018. As we all are very much aware about that, today the Union Budget session has been started and the general people has too much expectation with the government with this Budget 2018. And for this we have our expert Dr. Rajiv Khosla with us, who is a PhD in economics. Rajiv Khosla, sir, is a regular column writer with the leading newspapers like Hindustan Times, The Tribune, and the Financial Express. So once again, sir, thanks for coming here. And please, you just explain us that why this Union Budget 2018 is going to be unique this time.
Thank you for giving me the chance to share my views on the budget. You have rightly remarked, sir, that this budget session is going to be the unique one, and it is being expected with much fanfare also. There are three elements, both from the domestic side as well as from the international issues, which make this budget the unique one. See, this is for the first time that we are having the budget after the GST, because we were for the GST for past 20 years. But now the GST has kicked off and we are here with the budget after the GST session. Secondly, this budget is going to be the last budget of the present union government. 2019, there are going to be the elections, and I believe there is going to be an interim budget after this. Thirdly, we have seen that a unique combination has emerged on the economic front. That is, the stock markets, they are touching 36,000. The Sensex is at 36,000, whereas GDP, it is going down and down. And for past 6-7 quarters, the GDP could not maintain the pace. And at the international level, we have the problem that corporate tax, it has got down in America. It has reduced particularly from 35% to 21%. And secondly, the crude oil prices, they are going up. Now, amid all these challenges, how the Union Finance Minister, Mr. Jaitley, he is going to carry out the things, that makes it unique, sir.
That's good, sir. So, sir, as you said that this budget will be the first budget after implementing the new tax, which we known as the goods and service tax. So, if we talk about the general petroleum products which are not a part of this GST, so how it is going to affect the common people, and is the government is thinking about to take all these things under GST through this budget 2018? So, sir, as you said that this budget will be the first budget after implementing GST. So, as we all are very much aware about that, petroleum products are not the part of under GST, and people has huge expectations from the government to reduce taxes on petroleum products. So, in this budget 2018, government is thinking about this thing to include petroleum products into GST.
Dr. Trishu, it's a very, very sensitive and a complex issue. See, it is not only the union government which is the deciding factor for the petroleum and the LPG or petroleum products. The states have their own stake in it. Of course, the government, the union government, through its excise duty is getting rupees 19 from the sale of 1 liter of petrol and rupees 15.33 from the sale of 1 unit of diesel. But of course, I said that the state governments, unless and until a consensus is made, particularly the non-BJP ruled states, unless and until that consensus is not made, the issue cannot be resolved, and these things, they cannot be brought under the ambit of GST. They are the cash cows for the state governments.
So, another point is that from the people, those who belong to middle class and those who are salaried people, they have their huge expectation from government to increase their tax slab, they just want to increase their tax slab from up to 10 lakh rupees of income should become under the 10% of tax slab. So do you think that this budget may be a political budget because this will be the last budget of the present ruling government? So they may give such kind of benefit to the common people and the people, those who are salaried people. So is there any kind of question or any kind of benefit to government which can they provide to the common people in terms of increasing tax limit?
I would like to file a reply in two parts. Your first part was related to the salaried class people. What are their expectations, or do they assume that there will be some additional rebate given to them by way of the standard deduction or whatever? See, the economy right now is in a very, very complex state. If we look at the economic structure, the economic problem, we are having the problem of deficiency of investment. The gross fixed capital formation, which used to be 32%, is now hovering around 26%. And it has got its repercussions on the economic framework. Naturally, when the investment is down, Dr. Trishu, you will agree to it that when the investments are down, it means that people are not getting employment also, since no new infrastructure is being created. When the employment goes down, their wages goes down. When the wages go down, their demand goes down. So, in that context, we have the problem related to the investment as well as the demand deficiency. Both ways there is the deficiency. So what you said is right, that if Arun Jaitley, he takes a wise step and increase the standard deduction, then it means by whatever amount it is, by 50,000 or 1 lakh rupees, but it will certainly add some purchasing power to the pockets of the consumer, and the consumption can increase. So one side of the deficiency in consumption can be rectified. And now coming on to the second part of your problem, that what are my expectations, or what Arun Jaitley ji will do, or what the wisdom says. My wisdom, it states that yes, I can't comment upon whether 10 lakh or not. That's because Arun Jaitley has to take into consideration the fiscal deficit also, the fiscal discipline also. But if he shun restricting himself to the fiscal discipline, that is 3.2% to 3%, to 3%, yes, of course, then there is a possibility that people, they may get a good chance to gain in terms of employment, or the investment may increase.
Because there is a positive sign that government may increase the tax limit from the
Wisdom calls for this.
Okay, sir, our another point is here regarding FDI. Recently before budget, the government of India has allowed FDI in single brand retail sector. The government of India has also allowed FDI in Air India also. So don't you think that before budgets, because in previous governments that these major decisions like this FDI inviting into single brand retail sector and the Air India, these all decisions have been taken into budgets. But this present government, they have started the trend to take these kind of decisions before budget, so that they may not face any kind of problem in parliament while presenting these kind of documents. So what is your comment on it?
I feel that for foreign direct investment, whether I won't comment upon whether they have presented it on the in the parliament or not, have the reports been tabled there or not, that is altogether a different issue. That is, I believe, that a political touch is being given. I won't comment upon it. As far as this is concerned, the FDI, I believe that Arun Jaitley will have to reduce the corporate tax, because I had in my introductory lines said the territorial tax has been reduced in America, and it is going to have the repercussions world over. If now India wants to succeed in terms of foreign direct investment, if we want that the foreign direct investment that should make its way into the Indian economy, then we need to bring the corporate tax down, sir. It calls for the reduction in the corporate tax, certainly. And I believe that Arun Jaitley, he'll be doing the same. Of course, when 2014, when the government assumed power, they had this in their mind that they are going to bring the corporate tax from 35% to 25%. This is now becoming the compulsion for them.
As today in Parliament session, in Parliament budget session, the economic survey has been presented. A lot of talks and discussions were held there about GDP. And the whole budget is based on GDP, like how they will allocate different type of budgets in education, in health sector, and different sectors. But my concern is here about the GDP and the Sensex. The Sensex is going high and high day by day, and our GDP is going low. So can you explain our common audience, like they are very much interested to know that what is this kind of, is it disbalanced or balanced? Like our GDP is low and Sensex is very high. So what is your comment on it?
See, the relation between these two, that is the GDP and Sensex, it cannot be maintained like anything. It is not congenial to say that they have any sort of correlation between them. But since, yes, this problem has emerged at the economic front, it needs to be addressed. And I personally feel that Arun Jaitley, what he will do is, he can always rope in long-term capital gains. Dr. Trishu, what has happened is that previously people who had the stocks, they are having the shares for 10 years, they are maintaining it for 2 years, 3 years. Now when they are selling it, when the market is at 36,000, they procured it at 28,000, they procured it at 20,000, they procured it at 10,000 when the Sensex was at those limits. Now when they are going to sell it off at 36,000, they are going to gain. And it's not only going to be the nominal gain, it is going to be a capital gain. I feel that it needs to be arrested by the finance minister. He can impose the long-term capital gains tax on it, so that the mismatch, the imbalance between these two, that can be brought to some sort of synchronity.
Now let's talk about the education reforms done by various state governments and central governments. So we have the youth with us who are studying in various UG and PG programs of this university too. So the GDP, the government of India is spending huge amount on Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan. The government of India is keep opening new central universities and institutes like IIMs, AIMS and IITs. So what is your take about it, that the percentage of total GDP the government of India is spending towards developing existing education infrastructure, is it enough or do they require to invest it more?
I would like to answer it in two parts. The first one is related to your question related to the allocation in the budget. Is it sufficient enough or not to cover the educational problems? 6% has been recommended by Kothari Commission, and presently what the government allocates is not more than 3.80. If I roughly take the last year figures, there were 80,000 crores. The total allocation to the education sector was 80,000 crores. Out of that 80,000, 35,000 only went in for the higher education. Now, when this much, less than 50% of the total is coming to the higher education sector, we can well imagine the fate of education in this country. Number one. Number two, a report has come out yesterday. I'm exactly not recalling the name of the agency. I believe it was somewhere from USA. A report has clearly demarcated that Indians, they produce 75 lakh science and engineering graduates in a year. And India is number one globally. But when it comes to the doctorates or the PhDs, India goes at number 6, producing not more than 14,000 PhDs a year. And it is America and China. America with 40,000 and China with 34,000 doctorates are at the top. Now, we can clearly work it out that because of 35,000 crores only, that also gets disbursed for the salaries of the professors or the faculties, particularly after the seventh pay commission. So we can well imagine the fate of the education in this sector. I strongly feel that there is a requirement to increase it to 6%.
That's good. As per the recommendations of Kothari Commission. So, sir, we have the students with us, we have the audience with us. If there are any question from audience, so they may ask, please. The question from audience. Yes, please.
So, as the government has recently included the FDI in retail, so can we see this step as a bold move to boost the economy, or it will create a problem for the business holders of this country as well? So, what is your take on? Is it a bold move for boosting the economy, or it will demoralize the hopes of the new businessmen which are getting recruited for this for the business purpose?
I have a very conservative view on your question. The question you have put is that if FDI, 100% FDI is permitted in single brand, is it going to help the economy? I'll say no, this is going to burn the unemployment problem in India. See how? I'm using a Redmi mobile phone. Now, earlier Redmi was being sold along with Micromax or Samsung. Now the single brand retail means that we'll sooner or later have the stores for Redmi. Now in that context, it is quite possible that the sales of Redmi may increase, but the sales of the Micromax, which is indigenously produced by us, that may go down. Once the sale of Micromax will go down, it is going to have the problem on the employment side. Once there will be the problem on the employment side, the problem will burn the already existing problem, and that too, I'll go a step ahead, that the graduates, those who are the literate employment, the educated unemployment, that will be flared up.
So government is going to take it in a positive way to provide solution to the businessmen and for those who are doing their job first time basically. Any other question? Yes, please.
सर जैसा कि हम जानते हैं कि हम लोग आने वाले यूथ जो एम्प्लॉय करेंगे, सर इस बजट से हम लोग की काफ़ी अपेक्षा रहती है। तो सर जो मेक इन इंडिया का प्रोजेक्ट 2014 में गवर्नमेंट ने लॉन्च किया था, तो इस बार बजट में क्या यूथ एम्प्लॉयमेंट के लिए एक्सचेंज के लिए होगा? और यूथ कैसे एम्प्लॉयमेंट को पाएगा अगर मेक इन इंडिया के प्रोजेक्ट कहते हैं?
I personally feel that if I reconcile these two things, the question that was raised by the gentleman earlier, that FDI and this employment, I feel that the government should make efforts. Those who are getting displaced, since now the step has been taken, the bullet has been triggered by the government that FDI in retail is going. Now, better it will be if the government admits that it is a folly on its part, rather to make up that problem, problem which has got created because of this step. Government should make I'll say, government should give allocations with an open heart towards the schemes like Manrega, so that the persons who are getting dispositioned, the persons who are getting displaced because of the government's step of inviting FDI and single brand retail, they may be positioned somewhere else gainfully.
And the schemes like Manrega has been praised by United Nations too, which were very successful in terms of providing employment by any country. So by implementing this Manrega, the employment ratio were also increased at that time for successful implementation. Any other question regarding education, like the students are studying by getting education loan from banks and all. So any question related to same, please? Yes, please.
सर अभी एजुकेशन की आपने बात करी, इंडिया सेंसस के हिसाब से कंट्री ऑफ यूथ, हमारे यहाँ मैक्सिमम पॉपुलेशन यूथ है, तो लेकिन जो हमारी प्रोविजन होती है, हमारे जो बजट आता है हर साल, उसमें बहुत सारी चीजें होती हैं। लास्ट ईयर जो हमारा 2016-17 का बजट था, उसमें संकल्प करके एक स्कीम लॉन्च करी थी, 4000 करोड़ का बजट था, लेकिन वो यूथ तक नहीं पहुंची है। प्लस जो इंटरप्रेन्योरशिप के लिए 10,000 करोड़ का बजट था, उसमें से सिर्फ 10% दिया गया है। प्लस बहुत सारे हमारे यहाँ होम लोन सस्ता है लेकिन एजुकेशन लोन महंगा है, मतलब एजुकेशन जो कि एक्चुअली एक पिलर है हमारी डेमोक्रेसी का, उस पर फोकस नहीं किया जा रहा है। तो क्योंकि ये हमारा लास्ट ईयर है इस गवर्नमेंट का, क्या स्टूडेंट्स के लिए कुछ आएगा? क्या जैसे बाकी लोन्स पे सब्सिडीज का प्रोविजन होता है कहीं ना कहीं, स्टूडेंट्स को ऐसा कुछ दिया जाएगा?
Your question is very much valid, dear student. Of course, the government should be thinking on those lines that in order to provide something to the students, they should give additional allocation towards the education sector. But what I personally feel is what the government can do right now, or to the best of my knowledge, that the 1.5 lakh slab, which was enhanced by the Union Finance Minister in 2014-15 from 1 lakh to 1.5 lakh, the subsidy that was, the rebate that is being given to the salaried class. The tinkering of that slab is required at this stage. Now, how come? How that tinkering can take place? See, I said that investment is already down. The consumption accordingly is down. Now, one way out is that the people, those who are the taxpayers, they should be given additional benefits. How they can be given the additional benefits of that 1.5 lakh should be dedicated for LIC. That should be dedicated only for LIC. Now, because the lock-in period in LIC is more, that amount can be channelized into the investment, which the government of course had been doing also. Now the second part of that is the 50,000, which I believe that you'll agree, 50,000 rupees additional benefit, which hitherto what has happened is that if the working couple is there and they have 2 children, 70 or 80,000 is taken by way of the tuition fee of the children. Why can't we have the dedicated fund 50,000 for the tuition fee and 1.5 lakh for the LIC? In that way, 50,000 benefit will accrue to the salaried class and 1.5 lakh towards the government through LIC. I think that may serve the purpose.
Definitely, that will really serve the purpose if our Honorable Finance Minister will listen to this advice, really. But sir, when we talk about the education loan, for which the very high interest rates are there than even a home loan then. But when we talk about the government policies regarding agriculture sector and to give relief to the farmers, because if we talk about various state governments and central government, present and previous central governments, they give relief to the farmers by way of their loan from the banks. So can't they think about this thing equally to education loan, just to waive off their interest, if not the whole amount, so that the people, those who belongs to below poverty line or those who have a limited income, they can get benefited with that kind of schemes?
Sir, here we are merging 2 or 3 things which require some sort of clarity, I believe. See, the education sector as well as agriculture sector, both these sectors are not only the union subject, they are in the state list also. Both these subjects. So the problem, the union government, it has been doing all its efforts. The agriculture subsidy, definitely it has gone up, it will go this time also. Similarly, for the education sector also. Yes, the synchronization should be made by mingling up with the finance ministers of state governments and then think about something constructive on this issue.
That's good. Any other issue from the audience side? Any other question from the audience? Yes, please.
So in India, GST is applicable on sanitary pads, which is 12%, whereas Sindoor and Kumkum Bindi, which they are exempted from GST. So don't you think that is a negative part of the women's healthcare? Because women's healthcare is as important as anything else.
Healthcare, I may not be aptly in a position to answer this question, but healthcare is a separate issue. I believe that public investment on healthcare is only 1.5% of the GDP, which need to be increased to 4.5%, so that we may be included in the list of the nations which are giving the genuine allocation towards it. First. Secondly, as far as healthcare is concerned, there is, to my mind, there is a necessity for having the health policing. What has happened in the past is that people, they had been cribbing the patients, the relatives of the patients, they had been cribbing, they had been going from pillar to post in order to find out if the patient on the ventilator has gone dead or he is alive. The doctors, they had been victimized of recommending the medicines which are of higher value. It happens, sir. And it's not only the case of Punjab or Haryana or Himachal, it is prevalent throughout. So I personally feel that there should be health policing. The patients, the relatives, they need not, in case the fraud is suffered by them, they need not go to consumer courts or the subordinates or the lower courts. There should be health policing mechanism in terms of health care. That may help to address the issue. Of course, your question that females and all that, GST, yes, it can be addressed by the finance minister.
Thank you, sir, for replying at this question. Any other question from audience size, please? Yes, please.
So the entrepreneurs of the country are two parts. They also contribute through taxes in the development of the country. In USA, there are only 14% of entrepreneurs, while in India there are 28% of the entrepreneurs of the total population. But still, we lack in supporting the entrepreneurs of the country. So, are we expecting any reforms to support entrepreneurs of the country in this budget session?
Your answer can come, or I can address this issue by saying that if the government gives additional weightage in terms of startups, already the government has promoted the startups, a certain amount for 3 years, the financial support is being given by way of waiving the taxes. If some additional measures in light of it are also taken, it may help to sort out the problem.
Okay, sir. So we have discussed many aspects of this union budget, which is going to be presented on 1st of Feb 2018. We have taken care of many suggestions from the youth side, and I hope that we will put these all issues in front of our honorable finance minister. And definitely, we are very hopeful that government of India will really take care of the expectations of the common people and the youth. Like we are sitting here. The youth expectations, they will definitely cater in terms of agriculture, in terms of education, and in terms of GDP, in terms of Sensex, in terms of everything, so that they can cater the audience, they can cater the public in a very simpler way by providing all facilities in all economic terms, basically. So once again, thank you to all of you. Thank you, sir, for coming to our studio. Thank you.
Thank you so much.